One of the most difficult things I've ever experienced was waking up each and every day and wanting nothing more than to forget yesterday.
I just remember thinking, Lord, I don't know what else to do. I'm completely hopeless at this point. I don't know what to say. Everything I say turns into a fight. It just becomes this vicious cycle.
I grew up unloved, always insecure, always afraid, and I was always told that I would amount to nothing. My name is Antoinette Weinstein Lobo, and I grew up in the Philippines. It was a very, very tough childhood. My mom never really had a stable job. She lived a very promiscuous life. My mom always beating us up. I felt like we weren't worthy, pretty much. Like we were just something that didn't matter to her and didn't matter to anybody. It was a very hopeless time because I felt like there was no hope. I felt I was always unloved, ugly and unloved.
My name's Brian Mitchell. I was born in California, but grew up just about everywhere. My dad was ex-military and he moved a whole lot. Never really had many friends growing up, isolated a lot, I think mostly because of that. One of the key elements to me finding and making friends in high school was using, drugs. I partied, just dabbling with things, experimenting. I ended up shoplifting and scrambling to get things that I needed to survive. I was such in a haze that none of it really mattered. All that mattered was feeding and fueling the addiction. Living on the streets is one of the most lonely places a man can be. No one really has anything to do with you, and no one has any interest in you. I just felt like I was the only one that would ever know what I was going through, and I would probably die that way.
My name is Ann Vega. Growing up, I went to different schools, and I ended up in Whittier High School, where I met my husband. He was my first boyfriend, and we went to prom together. We got married, and marriage wasn't all that I thought it was gonna be. I didn't feel like it was everything that I thought it would be. I felt very lonely. I felt like something was missing. I found out that he had been having an affair with a coworker at work. And words can't express how devastated I was. I was not expecting it. I don't think anybody can expect it. It was just devastating, and you feel complete shame and alone, and like you can't tell anybody because nobody understands, and whoever you do tell tells you to just leave them. And we had children now, so it's not an easy decision to just divorce either. And I just remember feeling a whole set of emotions, from shock, disbelief, anger, shame, and then even like self-pity. Maybe I'm not good enough. What can I do better? Did I do something to deserve this? All these things that go through your mind. I just remember thinking, Lord, I don't know what else to do. I pray that you resurrect my marriage. And I remember praying that prayer with faith.
When I felt the absolute most hopeless, rock bottom, I woke up in the rain. Every single thing I owned was soaked, was freezing. I had no one to turn to. As I was scrambling through my backpack, find a crumpled up, soaked piece of paper, and I, had my mom's phone number on it. Hadn't talked to her in ages. And I called her, and she said, you don't have to live like this. And she told me about Union Rescue Mission. She said there was hope there. I was on the bus that day. the night that I first got to the mission, there was a pastor, visiting pastor, and I don't know if you've ever been to a service and felt like the guy was talking right to you, you know? But he just hit me with a bunch of hard facts, one right after the other. Remember, I just fell to my knees, tears. There's probably still a stain on the carpet there. I was such a mess, and I just told God, if you open doors for me, Lord, I promise I will walk through them.
When I came to the United States, my dad brought me here. My brother-in-law and my sister talked to me about Jesus. I wasn't ready at that time in the beginning to give my life to Jesus, my whole heart, because I felt like if I did that, I would have to first earn it. Because all my life I've been trying to earn compassion and love. And then I realized real love is given freely, like the love of Christ. I began to understand that I don't have to earn God's love. All I need to do is receive it, that it was a gift. And everything started to change from there.
There was some trials that we went through as a family. And it really shook our faith. I came to a point where I said, Lord, if he's done with me, then help me to be done with him. One of my dearest counselors said, this is a journey, and you're gonna just need to go through it. God opened doors in our lives for us to go through. He provided counselors that I don't think we could have found on our own. And both my husband and I were both willing, I believe, to seek that kind of help. We both leaned into God in our own ways. On Easter morning, my husband grabbed my hand and he said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I hurt you. And I believed it this time.
If you're sitting out there and you feel unloved, unfulfilled, afraid, insecure, if you give it all to God, if you take the step of faith and receive him in your heart, he will change you.
Anything's possible, and I'm walking with him, and he alone is why I'm sitting here today.
Because of God's love, every time doubt comes in my heart, I would remember that I am no longer that person in the past, that God, I am made new in Christ.
I think the only thing that I could actually say to someone that's suffering from addiction is, it doesn't have to be that way. Don't give up on yourself.
Throughout this journey, the word grace would always come up to me, and I didn't really understand what grace meant until we went through this journey together. When we found out that we were expecting our third child, it was a complete surprise to us, and we were searching for names, and before we even knew it was a girl, my daughter was naming off some names, and when she said Grace, we both looked at each other and we nodded, and we knew that was going to be her name. It was definitely God's mercy and grace that restored this marriage, not anything we did. And, some people would say, this is such a personal story, like, why are you sharing it with all these people? But this isn't about me. It's not about my husband. This is about what God did in our lives. And if he can do it for us, he can do it for any marriage. It's to bring him glory.